Welcome everybody. If you missed my little spiel at the beginning of it, I'm SH from Fable. I work at Fable where Sean Astin has his amazing book club. If you haven't joined, again, it's fable.co/Sean Astin. Please join us as we start reading Two Towers. We are just wrapping up the Fellowship of the Ring. What a book, what a story. Sean, did you finish it? Have you finished? You've got 4 days.
I have not properly finished it, no.
Okay. Well, you've read it before. You know what's coming. Spoiler alert, you were in the movies. So we're getting
I mean, I'm close.
You're close. You got 4 days left. We're going to start the read through just this weekend on it. And if you look in the Fable app, you'll be able to see the milestones. How we're pacing it out. About a month and a half, 2 months, actually, I think is what we're reading for. So I also want to introduce our special guest tonight. We are doing a super fun Lord of the Rings trivia showdown with two of my favorite LOTR dudes. So first of all, Matt from Nerd of the Rings, introduce yourself, wave. You've got a lot of fans waving for you in the chat. Tell us a bit about who you are and where people can find you online.
Yeah, so my name is Matt. I run a YouTube channel called Nerd of the Rings, and we dive into all things regarding Tolkien's lore. Every single week, we kind of dive in the deep end of the pool and pick a topic or a character. And I'm a big fan of mapping the travels of different characters. I love Tolkien's maps, and so there's a huge focus on that with my channel. And I did just want to real quick say that my thoughts and prayers are with the Tolkien family. They lost Priscilla Tolkien today. So sad day for the Tolkien world, but she's in a better place now, and our thoughts are with their family.
Thank you so much, Matt. I'm glad you brought that up. It is something that we've all had heavy hearts this week for a lot of stuff going on, and it's always a travesty when you hear something like that. But the greatest thing about the Tolkien community is the love that just radiates, and the friendship, and the community is, solid. So let's all send that out to the family. Our next guest, you might have seen him on TikTok. You might have seen a wonderful little TikTok that he did with Sean not too long ago. Don Marshall, 72. Tell us all about yourself.
Hi there. Yeah, I am Don. I go by Don Marshall 72 on TikTok, known as the obscure Lord of the Rings facts guy. Basically, I have made a little side hustle of doing just obscure Lord of the Rings facts, and it's been an absolute blast. I'll echo Matt's sentiments. My heartfelt thoughts and condolences go out to the Tolkien family. 92 years old, though I can't imagine the amount of stories that she had to tell, not just from her father, but from that whole family. I mean, there's stories to be told there many times over.
I know, it's so great. And maybe we should do a whole, I said me, but I meant you should do a whole obscure facts maybe about the Tolkien family. And
I certainly can.
Your TikTok. So both of these guys are going to be here for trivia with us. Their handles all across the internet are pretty easy to find. Don Marshall 72 and Nerd of the Rings. And of course, Sean Astin. Sean, you want to introduce yourself to the chat?
My name is Sean Astin, first-time caller, long-time listener, first-time caller. I just when you guys are saying it, I realized I should reach out to Roy Tolkien and just send my condolences. So I'll just associate myself with those good thoughts and words that you guys offered. I wrote a little introduction that was good. I thought we were going to put our formal in Fable. First of all, Sarah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for, I have to always say, because you do such, you work so hard, and you have such passion, and this thing, you help, you're the driver here, and I really do appreciate everything that you do for this group of people, and for me, and for yet another tentacle in the Lord of the Rings diaspora. So I wrote this thing. Can I just read it?
Yes. I mean, and tell people what it is that you're talking about, and just
all right. So there's always a moment when you introduce a new book in Fable where there's the kind of it's not the turning of the page, but it's basically like the switching out, and there's like tech things associated with that in terms of the back end, but then there's also the kind of like dropping of the whatever, the gauntlet or whatever. It's the starting line for whatever the new book is. And so we're going to start a new book. We had a different one. I wrote, and you always the book club, we always put out some little statement associated with the beginning of it. So I wrote this last night. I think we've actually decided to slide it back just a little bit. So this is sort of a preview, and it'll probably change for relevance based on what happens in the news. But it was in the middle of the night, so be patient with me if it's too overly dramatic, but it's what I've been thinking and feeling. It was actually, this is the amazing thing about the book club, is that it gives me some space to be able to speak into my thoughts and feelings and ideas about the world. And so that I've been having so many of them lately. And so here it is. So, all right. Welcome back to the Sean Astin Book Club. Hello to all the new and old fans of the books and films joining me on this journey of adventure. Thank you to my loyal book club members who have been here since the very beginning. Okay, here's the story. When we first secured the rights to include The Lord of the Rings on Fable, the original thought was that we'd read one book each year to coincide with the 20th anniversary of the films being released. Well, no one wants to wait. So, by popular wishes and plain good judgment, we are starting The Two Towers today, the second book in the Lord of the Rings series. One of the most memorable monologues in the Two Towers films is when Frodo, Sam, and Gollum find themselves stranded among the burning ruins of Osgiliath. And it takes no imagination whatsoever to see the parallels between that scene of devastation with those that we're witnessing in Ukraine, where a real life horror is unfolding, where an epic war began only 6 days ago, and where it will stop, nobody knows. My Fable Book Club is not a place for naked politics or gratuitous partisan carping, but Tolkien expressed clearly in his letters that he did not want Sauron to be considered a direct metaphor for Hitler. I can't help but feel as though the author wanted to reserve such allusions for the many evil rulers who inevitably appear in our human story. As promised, such awful and extraordinary evil is now being visited upon Ukraine and quite possibly the world. There are already heroes and villains, tragedies and triumphs written into the pages of history just in these 6 days. As I type, Western news reports a column of invaders rolling toward the citadel in Kyiv, stretching 7.5 miles long, some say 40 miles long. They bring certain violence and death. Civilians, some are fleeing, and others are steeling themselves to fight it out in the streets, ill-equipped and overmatched by one of the most fearsome military machines ever created. Alas, there are forces of sanity and fidelity arrayed across the fair earth seeking to render aid. As we read The Two Towers, may the poetry and beauty in its pages give us hope. These words were written by a man whose son was engaged in a great land war on the European continent, on the same soil where he fought in his early days. In the shadow of success of the so-called Great War, the world said never again. Well, again, here we are. Tolkien put a tool in our hands to help guide us from war and through war. It is our, well, let me say, in our helpless impatience for word from the front, from the region, let the Two Towers keep us company.
That was so good, Sean. It's such a perfect segue into talking about this book and talking about everything that's going on. You know, I had the same feeling. I've read Two Towers before. I'm not sure how many people have in the chat or in the book club, but we all know from the movies, it's really battle focused, but it's also focused on leaders. It's focused on these very humble leaders. It's focused on people who are being invaded. It's focused on this war-torn kind of place that people are trying to adjust to and defend themselves and defend their lands. And I just cannot believe how relevant the book is to what we're seeing. I also love that you brought up, Tolkien's experience and his personal letters that he wrote about being in the war himself. We forget, he, along with so many of the men who fought in World War I, he was a college student. I mean, he was there at Oxford, studying. He went to the front lines with his friends from college who didn't come back, and it changed him forever. It changed his views on war forever, and it inspired him to write these books, which is, just like Sean said, really focusing on the evils of war and the evils of, powerful men with large egos who do terrible things with them. So I'm excited about this. It's a little bit of a somber mood to move into the story with, but I think it's going to be really good for a lot of people to have that outlet, to have that channel to talk through these things. And also, that's the great thing about community, is the discussion part of it, is to hash out ideas and think about things and see metaphors and see parallels. That's what we're all here for. So that was beautiful, Sean. Round of applause. Thank you so much. We are switching the book to Two Towers later this week, not today. That will be published in our book club when we switch. So be able to read it again, share it with your friends as well. So yeah, this is a terrible, I hate to switch off this conversation, but I don't know how to move
Sarah,
forward.
if I may, I
Yes,
think I have a pretty okay transition.
Please help me.
Sean, as someone that has Ukrainian relatives, thankfully none of them are in Ukraine anymore. Thank you. That meant quite a great deal. And let's just say I'm used to Samwise Gamgee giving really good speeches, but Sean Astin does pretty good as well. So thank you.
You know what I should say too? Elijah Wood told me one time that Sean would make a really great president. And I don't see anything stopping you at this point. I mean,
Hey, Zelensky was a comic.
That's right. I'm just saying.
Of course, he won the Dancing with Stars. Have you seen that footage of him from like 5 years ago, where he was doing Dancing with, and he's like so good at it? I've been offered many times to be on that show, and I'm like, I could not do it. I would not be. I can do certain things. That's not something I can do. But his the tone that he and his, I wish I knew the ambassador's name, the UN ambassador for Ukraine, who keeps, just every time they meet, he says something that just makes it just is so, what's different about this moment? You think of Darfur, you think of hundreds of millions of people being slaughtered. You think of, Syria. You think of, wars that the United States has has prosecuted in Vietnam and certainly in the second Iraq, and there's the number of civilian dead, and those, we have to be clear-eyed in our country. And this is the greatest country in the world. I'm so grateful to be born here. I tweeted on my birthday the other day, like, I thanked everybody for their good thoughts and wishes, and I'm glad I'm alive. I'm glad I'm free. And that what I said was, I think that what I know is that it's time for unity, just in my country. And I know there's so many visitors here from all over the world, but just for myself in my country, I say we need unity in my country now, and we need disciplined citizenship, which is not the same thing as agreeing with each other on stuff. But there's ways that you go about talking about things, and there are some things that just won't stand. And to be nuclear saber rattling at this moment, as the leader in Russia is doing, all of a sudden everything else should stop. Everyone, whatever our parochial problems are, should just stop, and everyone should turn and focus for a minute and figure out how to deal with this issue. And the president of the United States is about to give a big speech, and I would expect that he would, continue his theme about the next 50 years on Earth is going to be about trying to decide on how we want to live. Do we want to live where we make choices and decisions in peace, as democracies, as representative government, or do we want individuals to be able to move around? And what's different in this time is that Russia is one of the is the largest nuclear superpower on Earth, and it is, the third biggest power, and so and it's bumping right into Europe, There was a speech that he gave, that Vladimir Putin gave when he first came to power, I think as prime minister, where he I can't remember what the European body was, where he talked about Russia was a part of the European community and wanted to have a progressive, way forward. And now 25 years later, he's lost and he's like Denethor. He's Denethor. He's mesmerized, and whether he's not listening to generals, or he's totally coveted himself off from everyone, so he's not getting whatever it is. This is what there are so many things that just leap out of these books for this. This idea of lighting the torches along the mountains to call for the Rohirrim or whatever, right? That's what these people are doing. They're begging the world for help. They're saying our quality is good. We believe in democracy and we believe in freedom, and we're willing to fight and die, but we cannot do it alone. We will die if we do it alone. I mean, that Tolkien, when I read his letters, his book of letters, when I was in New Zealand, and it was so interesting because it was my way. You guys, Matt and Don, you guys are through the looking glass. You know more about Lord of the Rings than you've forgotten more than I'll ever know. But for me,
these two are down the well, and
I know you're deep.
Side.
You've gone deep. But,
Yeah.
but my point is that for me, reading his letters, not just reading the books themselves, but reading his letters, I was like, okay, so this world has a prime mover. There is somebody whose hand is directing these characters and this language and these ideas and these stories. And when he wrote this thing about it not being a metaphor for Hitler, I just thought, if you've ever done publicity for a movie, right, you answer the same question 1,000 times. And if there's any variation in what you say, depending on who you say it to and what outlet, that can become like the controlling inference or dynamic, or drives the story that other journalists look at or something or other. And you're like, and I just had this idea that he was exhausted from people asking him if it was a metaphor for World War II, and I could just imagine him being like, you know what? No, it's not a metaphor for World War II. It's bigger than that. It's more important than that. It's universal themes. It's universal ideas. It's, you're like, the smokestacks in the industrial age are clearly what the Ents are fighting against. They're, it's like, so you're like, and then you start to come, and then time unfolds, and you get your Bashar al-Assads, and you get your Putins, and you sort of go, oh, okay, let me go back and re-examine, relive some of these things without that, because I think when we and I wish there was a way to talk to all, how many people are there now, 288 people. I wish there was a way for them to talk back. I guess you can, but the scrolling, it just goes by so fast.
We're kind of keeping our eye on it. We know a lot of people have a lot to say, and a lot of them are agreeing with you and saying that you should run for president. And a great idea.
I'll just finish with this thought.
Okay, finish.
When you bring, how we appreciate literature is affected by who we are and what we're doing and where we're sitting. I remember a guy who was a captain who was hired to pilot a super yacht, and they needed a part, so they were in Anchorage or something like that, and their big super yacht was parked there for like 3 weeks because this part had to come in from, I don't know, wherever, somewhere around the world. And he said, and in the bookshelf in the super yacht was Lord of the Rings, and he'd always been told that, oh, okay, maybe I'll read. So he sat down and he read it. And I'm thinking, and it meant the world to him. And I've talked to a million different people who've read the books in a million different settings, in hospital settings, and wherever. I can imagine in bunkers right now, and in Dunbar, somebody sitting there, by candlelight because they don't want to reading it. So, but where you're physically sitting, what you've done that day, what ideas are running in your hard drive, your mental hard drive. For me, it's impossible that this is not a metaphor for the Second World War. That was just a part of my operating system for the longest time. But now, as this is going on, and even just in the last 2 days, going back and rereading things, all of a sudden that frame has just kind of like dissolved, and now I'm looking at it in a whole new way. And I almost find myself, hang on, sorry. I almost find myself like wanting to look at it the way a helicopter pilot looks at their emergency, you know, if they start to auto rotate or whatever, and they go right to their leg and they've got their emergency checklist to see what to do. I almost feel like you can go to this book right now at this moment of global turmoil and like look at what to do, like a so I'll leave it there. But anyhow, that's, yeah.
No, I love it. And this is just such a great preview of what people are going to get from you in the book club, because you are so wonderfully engaged in your commentary. And this book is so relevant to our times right now. I think somebody in the scrolling, massively scrolling chat talked about, or, you know, said like, what's different now between from all of the other wars we have. And I think one of the greatest relevancies that we're seeing in this book is who the leaders are, who the people who actually rise up and defend and lead people, especially people who have never encountered this kind of thing before. We see someone like Aragorn, who kind of comes into his own through, you know, the crushing of battle that he hasn't experienced in this volume before. Didn't expect it to come so soon. He's been denying this role for himself. And what a massively wonderful parallel we have to see that in real life playing out in the Ukraine right now. So anyway, we're going to get into this kind of stuff. We have so much to cover tonight, and I love that we had this conversation, but I don't want to hold anybody back, since I know that everybody has a lot to get to today. So let's do a little bit of Q&A. And then we're going to pop into trivia, if we're cool with that. Is Don or Matt?
I would love to hear if Matt or Don have any thoughts based on.
I was just going to say that. Do you guys want to have anything else that you want to say before we kind of move on to the next segment here? I'd love to hear from you as well.
Matt, I'll let you take this one first. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. I will say, you know, I think part of the magic of Tolkien's world is, you know, Sean, you mentioned how universal the themes are, and I think that's part of the magic of it. You know, it's extremely applicable in the situation we find ourselves in now. And, you know, probably if we would have read this a couple of years ago or even a couple of weeks ago, you know, it'd probably be applicable to some other situation we were facing.
COVID.
And it's just the incredible, you know, universal appeal and universal applicability of these books. And specifically, since we're on the topic of Two Towers, you know, I think about, I heard stories today about some of the text messages that have been found on Russian soldiers about, you know, they don't, you know, some of them, they don't understand why they're there. They don't want to be there. And it immediately made me think of, in the film, you know, film fans will remember Faramir saying this, but in the books, it's actually Samwise, who sees the fallen Haradrim soldier and wonders if they were truly evil at heart, or if they wouldn't have rather stayed home. And, you know, stuff like that, just like it just hits on a whole other level. It gives me chills just thinking about it. And yeah, I just, you know, I hate that our world finds itself in this situation. I'm thankful that we have the world of Tolkien to, you know, kind of retreat into and take comfort in. And you know, we have that, you know, optimism and, you know, that hope that, you know, passes all understanding, you know, that we see pop up in Lord of the Rings, you know, that eucatastrophe. And, you know, that's kind of what I hope for in this situation. I hope, you know, I don't know how it's going to end. None of us do, but I hope that there's a eucatastrophe in store and that something unforeseen happens and we think, wow, we got through that. That was something.
I can see lots of ways where that could happen. You know, when you listen to the news and you listen to pundits, particularly the military pundits, they literally can't conceptualize of ways of like what the exit ramp is for you know, or how, but I can think of a few that would be really you know, we human beings, we innovate our way out of things, you know, emotionally innovate our way out of things, and technically innovate our way out, and maybe, people's need to survive will help innovate their way out of this moment too. But yeah, beautiful quote. You pulled. Go, Don, you got anything you want to say about the?
On the spot, Don. You thought you got out of that one, but
No,
I
I'm
just want to
ready.
you've been so good to come. I just want to make sure you have the opportunity. If you
Sean, I would be literally nowhere else in the world right now. Please know that for sure. No, I think you said it best. There is just like that World War II application, but when you kind of look back at it, there are these universal themes. And just from a personal standpoint, right? I identified so much with Frodo and Sam and Merry and Pippin when I was a little kid. I had growth hormone deficiency, so I was like a foot shorter than everybody else in like grade school and high school. So like the hobbits were my boys. I was just like rooting for them so hard because like here was this type of character that looked like me, that acted like me, and a little bit of Merry and Pippin goofball in my younger years. And then as I got older and I started becoming more aware of like the political events happening around me, I realized, oh yeah, these books, they have to do with World War I. You look at Mordor, and it's a 1-for-1 copy of the Battle of Verdun or the Somme or Passchendaele, any of those places that Tolkien fought. And then as you kind of take that 35,000 foot view, these themes can apply to any evil, really. And that for me is what made Tolkien so relevant, regardless of when you're reading it.
There is a phenomenal book that is Tolkien adjacent. It's written by John Garth. We have it on Fable, called Tolkien and the Great War. I got to see him speak at a Tolkien Society event in New York when Maker of Middle-earth was touring. And it is exactly that, Don. It's this wonderful kind of parallel of, sorry, this is Pippin, everybody. He's really excited to be here. Yeah, it's a wonderful book. If you follow me on Fable, I'm SH on Fable. You can see it in my Tolkien adjacent list, along with some other great ones, including The Battles of Tolkien, which is written by David Day. Controversial in Tolkien world, I know, but I actually love his work as referential, great referential encyclopedic kind of stuff. So if you're looking for references to maybe talk about this thing, how did Tolkien write about the war? What was his experience? What do we know from his letters and his personal writing? Those are two great solid books that I would absolutely recommend you check out, along with, of course, both of these guys' content online. There's a lot of it there. So should we get into Q&A really quick, Sean, and wrap this up, and then we'll move into trivia? I have so many questions for you. What I was going to say, too, is my big idea. Forget Dancing with the Stars. I'm going to start philosophical political debate with the stars, and Sean's going to be our champion, is what I think. I think that
I'll watch that.
Celebrity debate club. How about that? That's
I had this idea of creating civic forums, like in a shopping mall.
Yeah.
Where you go into a store, and sometimes you'll have like a ball pit where kids will play, or something, a laser tag or something like that. But a place where there'd be like an arena where you could come and you could give a speech. You can give any of the great speeches from history, or you could go into an area and you could debate. There'd be a moderator and like reactions and stuff. Like, so where in our life, now that there's social media, this was an idea before social media. So social media sort of actually accomplished it, but social media doesn't even have the elegance or the grace that should attend public discourse, right? It's just everybody's just flogging it. So I would just, Biden's driving up to the Hill right now to give this speech, and there's some pageantry involved with relating ideas. Like right now I'm getting my master's degree. The reason I haven't finished the book is because I've had finals. I just finished my public budgeting and financial management class at American University. It's a public administration and public policy course, and there's so much data, there's so much information, and there's so many ideas, and there's so much language, and there's so many people, and like it's nice sometimes to say, all right, let's make it special. Let's make how we're talking special. And yeah, so, and I think the Council of Elrond is kind of like that a little bit, maybe.
Yeah, it is kind of a ball pit. It's, might as well. We could do it in a ball pit, is what I'm saying. It's very Grecian if we. Okay, let's get on with this Q&A. We have a really good one actually submitted via Zoom that I think is fantastic. Now, I know that you haven't quote unquote finished reading Fellowship of the Ring, but we're just going to talk about your entire experience with the books. You have read them before, and you're a good
Several times.
researcher, couple times, yeah. So this is a good one, and I can't wait to hear what Matt and Dawn have to say, but we have to limit our answers, okay? So just like short answers. Who do you think is a true main character of the book? And I'm not going to quote Tolkien and say who the real hero of the book is, but it's a leading answer, leading question. Who do you think is really like the main character, the what, because there's so many, it's kind of like one of those ensemble films, right? Like, how do you determine who gets nominated for best actor?
I recuse myself because I reject the premise, but I would love to see these two lads fight it out.
I was gonna say that's a little bit cheating since Tolkien
It's
straight
not.
up admitted, Sean, that your character was the chief hero of the
He
story.
did. And how can you read the books and not think that, is what I'm saying. So, but there are some people who say Aragorn is the main character. There are some people who say Gandalf is the main character. So I guess I just want to know from your personal reading and reflection, who do you think really stands out? Obviously, I've said this before too. To me, my favorite character besides Sam being the hero is Pippin. He's my favorite character in the whole books. He has the greatest transformation of all of them. No offense, Aragorn, but we kind of saw that one coming. With Pippin, it was sort of like, what? So that's my answer personally. I think Pippin is really the character that I focus on the most. He's the one that I really follow his story and trajectory. When it comes to unfinished tales and all the deep history about him and his family, that's the one I'm the most interested in.
Matt, I'll jump in if that's all right.
Yeah, go for it. Yep.
So I have always, this may seem like a slight cop-out answer because he's only in it for one book, but I have always thought that Boromir was such a powerful and strong character in that he represented the very human parts of us that we can kind of all relate to. Just you know, from the hobbits, they're kind of fantastical creatures, and the elves are, you know, these ethereal, beautiful creatures, and Aragorn is like this king, this lord, sort of high and lofty. But when you look at Boromir, he's just a guy that has the literal weight of the world on his shoulders. And to me, you know, I ask, and maybe I'll ask even you, Sean and Matt, who among us, if not under the pressure of our family members and our country, wouldn't at least think about taking the ring for ourselves and using it to become that leader that everyone expects you to be? I always find Boromir's death one of the saddest moments of the entire trilogy. No offense, Sean, to the "I can't carry it for you, but I can carry you." That's my favorite line in the whole book. But Boromir's sacrifice to me was just, it spoke so much to the human condition. So Boromir is my pitch.
All right, so I'm not one to argue with Tolkien, so I'm gonna say Sam. That's what I've always thought. I just love the fact that, you know, he kind of gets drafted into the whole thing by Gandalf, and like everyone else pretty much volunteers, but which he does at the Council of Elrond too, you know. But you know, he forces his way into the Fellowship and everything, but he kind of gets drafted into it. But he has all these chances to turn back, and he doesn't, just out of loyalty to Frodo. And at the end of the day, like he's the one that we end the book with. And you know, at the end of the day, it's just beautiful how he goes home to his wife and kids. And you know, as a dad and a husband, I love that. It resonates with me so much. But yeah, I think it is you know, just real quick, I'll say it's a testament to Tolkien and the depth of the world that he created, that people could answer so many characters. And, you know, if you start taking in the larger legendarium, then I think that's where like people like Aragorn, who, you know, he's kind of fulfilling you know, centuries of failure on the part of men. There's so many answers, and you could make a very valid argument for so many characters. And it's just a testament to how great Tolkien is.
I would say Frodo.
Frodo?
I would say Frodo because I'm thinking of like Joseph Campbell. And he's the kind of mythological archetypes, and he's the Christ figure.
Yep.
Right. Yep. You know, and it's his immortal soul that he saved the. It has been saved, but not for me.
Right.
You know? Middle Earth has been saved, but not for me. And there's something, there's something so human about Boromir. You really make me think about Boromir a little bit. Is he sort of the Cain and Abel? Are they kind of Cain and Abel a little bit? Like, what is that? Maybe not Cain and Abel with it. What there, because it's
I
him
swear we can find someone who knows the answer. I swear somebody in the chat can tell us the answer of who everybody's archetype is, right?
But Faramir, how pathetic it is, that his dad is, so far gone and like likes his other son better, and so he goes out to basically on a suicide mission, and the kind of the emptiness of duty. Like duty is this amazing thing. It's what we rally to. We it's honor. It's I fight because that's my life does not belong to me. It belongs to those I love. It belongs to future generations, and so I lay it on the altar for you to do. But in the name of duty, people have done some stupid stuff. They mindlessly and thoughtlessly and selfishly participate in systems. You were talking about the soldiers in Russia, who yeah, I had an idea on how to finish. Anyhow, I think Frodo and Aragorn have to be. Somebody's got to advocate for those two. Because
they're good characters. Good backstories.
Well, I mean, and I think that they're the intentional.
Yeah.
Like that's what he wanted. So I think for us to go and find, I love Treebeard, but you can't say Treebeard's the greatest character thing, but Treebeard's when I was reading it, like I just love Treebeard. So, but I feel like to honor Tolkien, we have to at least acknowledge that he set up these two protagonists in that way.
Okay, so let's do another question. This one is specifically for Sean. We got this actually a number of times from people. So I think people are very curious to know, and I'm actually gonna read Linda's question because she wrote me the first time, but we did get this many times. Hi, Linda. Having read the book more closely now, do you have any new insights into Sam's character? And maybe a slight sort of side question, is there anything you might have done differently portraying him? I know we talked about that before in our last Zoom, but I'm wondering if maybe the events of your life and your experience and the wisdom that you have now makes you read his character differently, or any other character. I know that every time I read these books, I sort of see new things and new people that is based on my own experience. So what about you? Anything that kind of struck you this time reading through Sam's journey?
I think it was in like 2002 when I first was exposed to fan fiction. And
for Lord of the Rings, or just like for anything?
Lord of the Rings it was Lord of the Rings, and it was
okay.
First, I didn't even know. I lived a life outside the nerd stream, I guess. But the fan fiction that was coming through was saucy fan fiction, and it was actually Ian McKellen who showed us some things that were being written on the internet that
tracks. That
would
sounds
make
like Ian McKellen.
a soldier blush.
What was the title?
John's furiously Googling it right now.
But listen to so I think when you have kids, you start to get emotional over things that are like, really, dude? Like it's a toothpaste commercial. I know, but look at the way the dad's putting the kid in the car. You're like, and when you're tired, you get emotional. So I'm tired because of all this graduate school work I've been doing. And my kids are all now, I've got 25 and 19, almost 20. My second kid's almost 20 years old. And then the third one is 16. And I don't know, and then you have world events that just overtake you. So the emotional, all of the music that's in the writing is what I found myself leaning into. But as it regards Sam, I mean, just listen to this. Where's Sam? Frodo asked at length. This is from Many Meetings, first chapter of Many Meetings. Where's Sam? Frodo asked at length. And are the others all right? Yes, they're all safe and sound, answered Gandalf. Sam was here until I sent him off to get some rest about a half an hour ago. I mean, I read that right after I watched somebody who was like hiding in a subway station right? Like staying up because of the bombing, and like they have to sleep. When do the people sleep? That's the difference of war and death is like, of survival and death is like, if you can get 4 hours or something, 3 hours, how many nights in a row can you go without? And so this idea of like sitting vigil at the hospital and having, Sam might not have listened to anybody else to go get some sleep, but Gandalf told me to get some sleep. So it'd be like, ooh, don't turn me into anything unnatural. I'll go get some sleep. There was another one that I saw.
While you look for it, I just have to say, I want to reiterate what somebody else said in our book club discussion today. She said this was the first time she's read through and read everything and not skipped anything. And I am a notorious Tolkien song skipper. Like that is just not my jam at all. In the audiobooks, Andy Serkis actually sings them and he actually like gets really into it. And it's fun to listen to, but most of the time I would be flipping through. And I can't believe how referential these songs are now. Now that I know this, I'm like, what have I been doing all my life? So it was.
I thought Don was going to say Tom Bombadil was his favorite character.
I mean, he's a close second. He's a close second.
He's a good one. He's a good one. That's a whole other Zoom call to talk about Tom Bombadil. We'll get to it one day. If you guys want to sign up, email me, sh@fable.co. Private talk with me and Don about Tom Bombadil. Matt, you can join. You're welcome.
100%.
Listen to this one. You ready? At last there came a knock at the door. Begging your pardon, said Sam, putting in his head, but I was wondering if you'd be wanting anything. And begging yours, Sam Ganji, replied Bilbo. I guess you mean that it's time for your master, that your master went to bed. Well, sir, there is a council early tomorrow. I hear he only got up today for the first time. Quite right, Sam, laughed Bilbo. You can trot off and tell Gandalf that he's gone to bed. So there's just the quality of his attendance, of his attending to Frodo. It just it's a love relationship. There's one last one that I first, I've always said in response to any question on, are they gay? That like, I'm not going to tell anybody how to interpret what they read. People can, experience what they experience with it. But, there is, wait, let me just see here. Wait, almost, sorry. Well, this is the breaking of the. Just hold on a moment. Oh, this is actually in the movies too. Just hold on a moment. I'll get my stuff, cried Sam eagerly. It's all ready. I thought we should be off today. He rushed to the camping place, fished out his pack from the pile where Frodo had laid it when he emptied the boat of it. When my wife, you have the bag by the door to go to the hospital when your wife goes into labor. Frodo's got his bug out bag ready to go. I mean, he's like, they're in the, they're in an elf paradise. Could you be more protected and safe? Sam's like, yeah, but I got my stuff. If we're ready to go, you go. Anyhow, yeah.
Oh, Sam. Okay, last question, then we're going to go on to trivia. We don't have a lot of time left, so we want to make it quick. Somebody asked, when you did that wonderful scene, I can't carry it for you, but I can carry you, and you grabbed Frodo and you hiked yourself up the mountain. Was that really Elijah Wood, or was that a body double? Was that a dummy? Was it really his little body?
It was a dummy named Elijah Wood. How he would let himself, they had a harness. I had a harness on because we were on a volcano, on a steep face of a volcano. And but it couldn't be on, he couldn't have the harness, or else it couldn't, the bottom of it would like cut my neck off, or you could see it, or pull him a certain way. So he just took his harness off. So I'm anchored in, lifting him up, and it's like, boop, there goes the $300 million trilogy. Boop, there it is. Oh no. But that's the way Elijah was about everything. Like they did is it the seer? What is it that comes out of the water? Do not disturb the water when he's when outside the gates of Helm's Deep, Melon.
Yeah, the Watcher.
Whatever. What is it? What is it?
The Watcher.
The Watcher, yeah. Well, they got a cherry picker with a thing, and they hung him upside down from this cherry picker to do it. And I'm like, feeling like his mom. actually his mom would be like, yeah, he'll be fine. I was like, are you doing the harness right? What about the thing? Is this right? And Elijah's like hanging upside down. First of all, when I hang upside down, all the blood goes to my head and I pass out. I'm like some sort of a possum or something like that. Elijah, he could be upside down, he's like indefatigable. You could stuff him in a thing, you pull him out, he's ready. He can fall asleep anywhere. He's like this unbelievably robust, nimble, spongy, like taffy like creature. And he just trusted that that it would be okay, that they would take care of him, that they knew better. I was constantly, my role was to say, something's wrong. This isn't safe. I think we should stop. Let's look at it differently. And Elijah's like, man, let's just go. It's going to be fine. They know what they're doing. So.
Sean, not to bring up an obscure Lord of the Rings fact, but I seem to remember in the extended editions of the movies, were you directing the
helicopter? We all know that story. Everyone
the
who
mountain
watched the
scene, and you were just like, "Yep, go that way and go that way."
If you find Dom and Billy's
stories.
podcast, The Friendship Onion, in the last episode, we go for a good hour with me setting the record straight, because I've been mocked for 20 years for my ability and instinct to communicate with the pilots in the middle of a foggy evacuation where there was no control tower or anything. They laughed so hard at me at that one. Oh my God.
It's hilarious. I'm glad you brought that up, Dom, because it is on the appendices, the behind the scenes of Lord of the Rings. If you don't have the Blu-ray or DVD, you can watch it on YouTube. Somebody's kindly put it up there for us, so it's all there. Okay, so we need to get going on trivia. We've got 10 questions, 5 each. Sean, can you hang on and do it, or do you need to pop off?
I got a couple minutes. Let me do a couple minutes with you.
Okay, Sean's gonna do the first 2 questions. So we're gonna ask Matt a question, and then we're gonna ask Dawn a question. We have 5 each. I realize that there's no way anyone can win, probably, with this number.
Oh, wait, if it's these 2 guys answering, we're not going to allow the whole
no, it's just these 2 guys. These are our trivia showdown contestants.
All right, so Sarah, you and I are doing the back and forth with them.
Yeah.
Sean, if you happen to know these questions, feel free to jump in.
I see the answers written in front of me.
Yeah, Sean, I'm gonna have you read the first question, which I believe the first question is
I got it
for Dawn. So you read the first question, don't read the answer, and please, Matt and Dawn, don't look at chat. Everybody who's in chat, you can participate, obviously. This is fun times for us. So go ahead, Sean, all you.
All right, Don Marshall 72. What name did Gandalf go by before coming to Middle-earth?
Oh, Gandalf's original name was Olorin when he was in the Undying Lands, but Gandalf actually has 12 names.
And they are?
The Grey Pilgrim, Mithrandir, Carthun for the dwarves, Gandalf the Grey, the White Rider, Olorin. He is known by something that just means old man with a stick in Rune, and in the Easterlings when he travels east. What am I at? 6?
I think that's okay. I was
close enough.
Joking,
we're on a time crunch.
Okay.
I just figure they're all getting drunk at some point in Bree, and they're like, "No, why did she call him the old man with the stick?"
That's amazing.
All right, go ahead. You go for.
Okay, should I go? This is one from Matt. I'll read this one for Matt. Oh, I just lost my thing. Aragorn, we know, is the son of Arathorn. Gimli is the son of Gloin. Legolas is the son of
Thranduil.
And he is of the
Woodland Realm.
That's right. Do you know who his
Mirkwood.
father was?
His father was Orofair.
Oh, this is just, I feel so good about this.
It's a condition you guys have.
Thranduil is one of my other favorite characters in The Hobbit. Why? Because he watched his entire kinsmen and his family be killed in war, which made him an isolationist, and some say a pacifist, which is why he didn't help the dwarves. And it's not because he was a mean person. He was also played by the beautiful, beautiful Lee Pace. That's it. Okay, Sean, next question for Don. Up to you.
All right, Don. In The Return of the King film, Aragorn sings during his coronation. What Middle-earth character originally said the words that Aragorn sings? That's a tough one.
Etarelio endore nauntulien siname maruvan arendinia tenambar meta. For out of the sea I am come, and here I shall claim this land for me and my heirs, said by Isildur's father Elendil as he came to Middle Earth.
Bravo!
Excellent.
I'll accept that.
That was unbelievable. That's going on TikTok in a loop immediately. Everyone's gonna do it.
I will not be singing any of my answers. Just put that out there.
Okay, Matt, question for you. In the Fellowship of the Ring, the Fellowship is given cloaks by the elves of the Florian. The cloaks are held together by those beautiful elven brooches. One character's leaf is facing the opposite direction as everybody else's. Whose leaf is facing the opposite direction?
Oh man.
I should say too that they wrote these questions for each other. So
Yeah. Wow.
This is Dawn's doing.
So is this from the book, Don, or is this a movie thing?
This is a movie.
This is
Okay.
not. I'm going to call this question out of bounds.
Oh, okay. No, that's fair.
You
That's fair.
approved it, Sean. Come on. You said it was good.
I approved. Yeah, that was. I mean, you bring these. You know, it's like
I'm the obscure Lord of the Rings
written on
facts
the
guy,
back of the
Sean.
taxi that you drove here in. Like, everything but the back of the taxi. Like
Wow.
you can't know this.
I'm
Nobody.
the
Okay.
obscure Lord
I'm-
of the Rings.
You
I'm
can
gonna
figure this
purely
one out.
guess.
You can
I'm gonna
figure this one
purely.
out.
I can purely guess. I don't know. Sarah just pointed down, which makes me wonder if Sean is like below her.
Not in
I
real
am.
life.
I was-
Not in
I
real
was-
life.
I was really like I was gonna say Boromir because I thought that might be like a hidden like reference to him. You
that
know,
would have been good.
but I'm guessing it's probably Sam. Maybe
It's Sam.
It is,
It's
okay.
Sam. It's
And
Sam.
there is no reason it was an accident, and that's why it's like not a fair question of a Tolkien expert because you're like, well, it would be great to try and generate a reason why.
That's what
that
I was
would have,
trying to do. Yeah.
to honor his old gaffer who planted leaves, on the south side of a maple tree.
Well, we'll make
I
one
just
up and
put
then
it
we'll
on
submit
wrong,
it.
and then they had to match it. They treated it like they had to match it every day for 3 years.
Oh,
Because
man.
and so it
John,
was,
I think we should get together. We'll write a white paper on this. We'll submit it to the Tolkien Society. It'll go into canon. That's all it takes. So, okay, Sean, next question for Matt, please. Question number 3.
yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is actually for Dawn. This is Dawn.
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
sorry.
Oh, okay.
Question
For
for
Dawn?
Dawn.
We know Minas Morgul as the city of the Witch King, but what was the city's original name?
Oh, I believe. Would you like me to answer in that same lively
Yes.
accent? Okay.
Yes.
Well, I do believe that Minas, it was called. Oh, it's one of two. Was it Minas Ithil?
Yes,
Oh,
it
it
was.
was. Gosh, you guys are good at this.
We do this semi-professionally.
I know. It's great. We're so excited that you're here. Okay, so I wrote this question for Matt, actually.
Oh, okay.
Where did Treebird invite Merry and Pippin to stay before the Entmoot?
Shoot. Oh my god.
And you know what? Remember, Sean, I told you that if I was on Colbert, I would have gotten that question right. The question that the Friendship Onion guys stumped Colbert with. I don't know why, but I have a very interesting memory. It's not the same answer, but I have a very
No, it's not.
This is a different question.
It's a different question. I have a
Yeah.
very weird memory for the Entmoot for some reason.
Well, help it. Tell them the other question.
The other one was Durndingle, where they
Yeah,
met.
Durndingle
Or the-
was
yeah, for the Entmoot.
hill eastern of where
I think that's one of the laziest of Tolkien's names he came up with.
Oh gosh, I've got a couple names in mind. Is it
It's
Welling
also where
Hall?
it's Welling Hall.
It is Welling Hall. Okay.
It's where they drank the Ent draft and
Okay.
became the tallest hobbits of the Shire.
Nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was a good one, Matt. Good
That
job.
almost got me. Yeah,
That's great.
man, I had to rack my brain for that one.
Okay,
Well
another
done.
good one. Next one, Sean. This one's for Don. Question number 4.
I'm
You're
so
not keeping
impressed.
score at all. I'm sorry, you guys, but
I'm so impressed. I'm not even impressed. I'm now just judgmental about what's wrong with you people. there's something not, I mean, can you make a great living doing this? Is it something we should tell our kids they should study?
no.
You know, this is insane. The depth of knowledge in this particular.
No, honestly, it's the best person's purpose that it serves is to go into your book club, fable.co/Sean Astin, and just like school people on obscure facts and trivia because people eat it up. I'm telling you. So that's the best use of this.
It's
time.
incredible. It's true.
Okay, question 4
really
for
good.
Matt. Or for Don. Sorry,
For
I keep
Don,
getting it.
Well, these last 2 questions that I have are easy for him.
I don't think the
Okay.
4th one is. I don't think the
All right.
4th one is. Try it.
Oakenshield is the nickname of Thorin II. What is the nickname of Thorin III?
Oh. What is the nickname of Thorin the Third?
It is mentioned in the Lego Hobbit video game, which is where I've gotten most of my Tolkien knowledge.
I'm gonna say, is he Thorin the Third? Is this a trick question? Because there
No.
isn't. No, there is a Thorin the Third. Oh, good. You know what? I know when I'm beaten. I don't actually know the answer to this one.
Really?
Really? I'm a
Man.
little
Give
him a
disappointed in
hint.
myself.
Give him
Wait, hold on. Let me slow walk him over there. If we
Please.
went to England together and we wanted to find like history of the Druids, where would we go together? You know, where in
Like
a
an
circle.
alien monument.
Yeah.
Stonehenge?
Right? Does that give you a hint?
Stone something.
Stonehenge.
Stone what?
Stonehenge. It's a Jewish.
Stonehelm.
Oh.
Stonehelm.
Stonehenge.
Yes,
Stonehelm.
it's the son of Dane Ironfoot. Is
Yes,
Thorin the Third.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is. Yes, it is. Oh, I'm gonna
Man.
Google my dwarf history now. I gotta brush up on
Yeah.
that. Good question.
Well, speaking of dwarf history, I have a question for Matt about
Okay.
dwarves themselves. Okay, only one dwarf woman was ever mentioned by name in the books.
Mhm.
I'm guessing this is not the beautiful woman that we're seeing in The Lord of the Rings on Amazon Prime coming out soon, because she was not described kindly. Who is this dwarf? What is her name? Or if we know, what if it's her name if you know her name? But who is the dwarf related to in the Hobbit movies?
Yes. So the name is actually very similar to the created dwarf name for the Amazon series. Because in Amazon series, it's Disa, and this is Dis, who is the sister of Thorin Oakenshield. And so that would make her the mother of Keely and Feely.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was our chat is going well at that question. Yes. Okay. Last question for
Doesn't
Dawn.
John Rhys Davies say something about dwarf women in the movies?
Yeah.
He does.
It's in the book as well. That they are indistinguishable from dwarf men because of the
Mhm.
beards. And again, it's a beautiful detail in the Lego Hobbit video game movie. If you
Yes.
have a chance to get your hand on it, they look identical to the men.
I love those games, by the way.
I love
They're
I
phenomenal.
wish they had made more. I love that they used the dialogue and the sounds of the
Mhm.
music from the actual movies. Okay, Sean, last question for Don. Let's see if he can do it. I think he
All
can.
right. Samwise and Rosie have how many children? Pre-question,
13.
right? And name all of them. The question only asks for.
No,
I was gonna say I didn't put
got
that.
it. No, hang
It
on,
only
hang
asks
on,
for
hang
3,
on.
but
Easy,
I
easy.
put that.
I
was
could probably
nice
name
about
3.
it.
There's 13 of them, so hang on. There is Frodo, Merry, and Pippin. There is the one that marries Pippin's son Faramir, Goldilocks. There is Bilbo. There is another flower. Is it just Rose? I know there's another flower. That's 5. Frodo, Sam. No, sorry. Sam does not have a junior. Frodo, Merry, Pippin, Goldilocks, Lilac. Oh.
But not at all.
Did you say?
Oh,
you said
I'm
primrose.
struggling here.
But listen, you got the question
you-
right because it was named 3.
I
was
only
the one
said
who
3. Yeah.
I was the one who put, I said bonus point, name them all. So
Primrose, Robin, Tolman, Ruby,
and
Ruby.
Hamfast.
and Hamfast.
Hamfast. Yes.
Yeah.
Can't forget
Yes.
So many
Oh,
kids.
So many kids.
You
Yeah,
got
Sam-
it,
Sam-
which is
Rosie
about 3
got
more
it.
than I would have gotten. So
Okay,
All right,
last
yeah.
question. This one is for Matt. In the book, Saruman invades the Shire, starts running it like a crime boss. His henchmen give him a nickname that's related to fish. What is that nickname?
It is Sharky.
Do you know where that might have come from, or where we believe that comes from?
Something British, maybe.
Don, do you know where
I
that?
don't. Yeah, I don't know what that.
I do.
Yeah.
I wrote the question, so it
Yeah.
feels like cheating. However, Sharky, Tolkien said in, I believe it was some footnote in some very obscure set of notes that he wrote, that Sharky is a translation of Sharku, which is Orcish for old
Sharku.
man.
Yes.
Obviously, yeah.
hey, my last one for everyone involved. Who in Sean Astin Fable Book Club's webinar? Who is the most grateful person out of all 277 who remain, and the 4 on this page, and the others who are backstage? Who is the single most grateful person for your guys, for all of your participation?
People are saying Sean.
Feels about right.
We're getting some votes for Pippin the cat, which is great. He's your friend Pippin on Instagram if you want to follow him.
Lads, thank you. Sarah, thank you. I'm going to jump.
Okay, thank you so much, Sean.
Thank you,
Everyone,
Sean.
Everyone.
stay
Thank you,
on for a
Sean.
little